Ua mau ke au ka aina I ka pono Hawaii Malama ia Na iwi Pulama ia Na kua
So I got 3 questions here. If anybody got any other questions out there, maybe you could raise your hand and someone can come around and collect them. I see a couple of question cards over there on the right-hand side of the room. So questions for the panel. I'm going to start off with this one, and any of our panelists feel free to jump in and respond. So the first question is, how far has this information gotten down the mainstream media pipe, and what efforts so far in getting this out to our mainland ohana? Anybody want to talk about that? Mainstream media and efforts. I can say something briefly. I think part of the reason that we have this halavai tonight is because it has been really blacked out from the mainstream media. And Auntie Nani and Auntie Debbie, when they went to the halavai on Oahu, one of the top 3 ideas that came out of the halavai on Oahu was that we need to get to our communities, we need to take this back to the outer islands, and we need to have a halavai there and just do it community by community, because the mainstream media is very well aligned with the state of Hawaii's power structure. And so you'll notice there's not much coverage of this in the newspapers or in the news. Panelists?
And I'll add a little bit. Is this on?
Hang on. Mic's off.
Am I on? Hello? Okay. Okay. Should we break this? Okay. So they have this budget of 2.5 million, and part of that budget is going to a PR team. So, that's their 2.5 million compared to the PR machine that is Uncle Walter. So one of the things that I think was fortunate was, just by chance, the week that Uncle Walter withdrew, I wrote an op-ed for Civil Beat that got a lot of visibility. John Osorio also happened to write an op-ed. So that got a lot of attention about how there was a lot of concern and opposition. So this is, I think, why you've seen even more so, their PR team has kicked into high gear. They're on the morning shows, they're doing all of this stuff. So the information about the opposition is purely fueled by, or the concerns is purely people writing op-eds, people asking their newspapers to cover this event, social media, because we simply cannot compete with a $2.5 million budget. And every time, like, I think for my one op-ed, they wrote 5 from different people. So, but what was really amazing was the op-ed I wrote, I asked Civil Beat, it got viewed by over 50,000 people, and it got shared over 3,000 times. And I think what it was an indicator that people are starving for more information about what's going on, and not the spoon-fed information that Aupuni is just handing, but real information. So, please write, please talk to people, because I think people want this information, and it, without our own media team and, giant budget, we really are relying on the community to get the information out to the mainstream. So that's what I know.
And I think that's good, because power of the internet allows us to all communicate. This halavai will be online. There's also other halavai that I enjoyed watching through live stream that have been posted up that I think are very informative. And we can link our ohana on the mainland up to them, so that, like Uncle Walter said, we get to go home and watch it again. Second question, I think this one is going to be for Donovan, and there's two questions actually. With the understanding of the fact that the Hawaiian nation continues to be sovereign and exists in Hawaii, what are ways we can assert our independence as subjects of our nation and begin the process of deoccupation? Similar question, what has to happen to get deoccupied?
The most complicated question in 30 seconds. The unsatisfactory answer that I'm going to give is education. If those dates and those events on that timeline are not common knowledge, if you don't know what happened in 1959, if you don't know what happened in 1843, if you don't know those kinds of things at the tip of our tongue, then we're probably not ready for deoccupation, to be honest. And that's just, we've been indoctrinated for 122 years. It's probably gonna take some time till we're in a place to be deoccupied. And that's just my personal opinion, and that's just what I feel is true. Yes, I would love for deoccupation to happen in my lifetime, but I ask myself to be a little humble and be, who am I? Our queen was imprisoned in her own castle. She lived occupation harder than any of us. Who am I to sit here and say it has to happen now in my lifetime? I hope my children, I hope I educate my children to be able to make the decisions that need to be made. If we don't even know, who here knows any of the articles or any of the substance of our 1864 Constitution? Who knows any of what our political system was? Who knows how our government Supreme Courts worked? Who knows all of that stuff? We've been indoctrinated for 122 years to think like Americans. It's gonna take a while. That's just my personal opinion. Others may disagree.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. And I think the good part is that it's happening right here. What we need to happen is actually happening right here today. You guys are all a part of it and participating in it because it really is about education. Like Donovan said, 122 years of occupation is a long time. But one of the questions was, what do we need to deoccupy? And there's been some research on that. So people are working. I mean, I've been working on this for the last 20 years as an academic. And there are people, Donovan actually is part of a group called the Hawaiian Society of Law and Politics, which is a RIO at University of Hawaii at Manoa that does research on these topics. Because we don't know. Nobody who was alive when the occupation started is still alive today. And so the legal and political history of our people still is unknown to us. And so until we know who we are, in a sense, I think is what Donovan's saying, it's very hard to make that judgment. But what I'd like to share with you is that we do have explicit proof of the Hawaiian Kingdom occupation by the highest court in the world, the Permanent Court of Arbitration. So if you go to this website that I've listed here, you'll see that the Permanent Court of Arbitration lists the Hawaiian Kingdom as a state respondent in the Larson versus Hawaiian Kingdom case. And that is, in fact, explicit proof that the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist and that we already have our sovereignty. We don't need to attain it. What we need to attain is effectiveness. And so until we can speak the language that we need to internationally and really understand our rights and our base of strength, it's very difficult and problematic, which is why education for many of us is the key. And so there's some websites that we can share. I also want to encourage everyone, because the petitions are over here, in the short term, some of the things that we can do in terms of next steps include signing the petition both physically and online here. Sponsoring sponsoring a halavai aloha aina, in your own community. And the one thing I forgot to comment on earlier that I want to say is that, 100% of the people that are the people have different definitions of aloha aina. But the traditional Hawaiian definition of aloha aina, because hui aloha aina is a kingdom institution, aloha aina translates into English as patriotic. It means patriotism. And so hui aloha aina during the kingdom era was the Patriotic League of Hawaii. Hui aloha aina tuahine, who originally started the first ku'e petitions, of which all of our kupuna signed. 98% of registered Native Hawaiian voters in the kingdom signed, was started by Hui aloha aina tuahine, the Women's Patriotic League of Hawaii. And so that idea of patriotism as aloha aina is tied to a national identity that most people have been indoctrinated to forget. And so one of the other questions I have here is, what if the royal family came out of hiding? Oh, sorry. You still addressing the question, the last one?
Same question. I want to answer that question.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I was going to the next one. I'll tell you, Pop.
Yeah, I want to take a crack at that question. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I can tell you what we're doing on Molokai. We're telling the state to shove it when they came into a fish pond and told us we got to do this, you cannot do that, you got to do this, you can do that. The federal government came in our fish pond and said you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do this. The Department of Health came, you cannot do that. We told them, what? Get the F out of our fish pond. Sovereignty is inside of you. It's inside of you. They can never take that away, no matter how many government officials they knock off. It's inside of you. So you got to start acting like you're sovereign. Don't wait. Don't wait for them to tell you, oh, you cannot do you make your awa, you cannot go clean them because you need a permit from DLNR. Hey. Bruh. Oh, I'm sorry, but we got to take out all the bones. They stay in the way of this hotel. Sorry, you guys cannot go down there, get the hotel. You want easement down here, you can use the easement down there. We had enough of that. Sorry, we're going to put one monstrosity on top of your mountain, your sacred mountain. The hell you are. They took our ocean. All of our shorelines full with hotels. No more enough fish for us anymore. They stay on our farmlands, our uka lands, putting poison all on our uka lands. Then they come to the top of the mountain. And they're going to take our most sacred mountain so they can put a freaking industrial complex on our sacred mountain. Where are we going to stop this? And it comes with you believing that you as a Hawaiian have a kuleana inside of you to protect these things. And that you are a sovereign nation and it's inside of you. You pass that on to your generation after generation. It's going to take time, but start right now.
Okay, so we have the questions. We're not going to be able to get to all of them right now. I will be reviewing some of those questions and talking about some of the possible answers on the radio Wednesday, 9 to 11 on KKCR. I want to respond really quick to what it takes to deoccupy. I'll have to agree with our panel. It is something that's going to take a while. There has been a prolonged indoctrination of our minds that has happened that we have to overcome. And I believe that the first step is to educate ourselves and each other. Once we understand who we really are, what our legal rights are, we can then begin as a lahui to begin to build our legal defenses in different areas. The second thing that is essential for all of us to know as we move forward as Hawaiians is that it's our responsibility. It's only us. It's us. We do this thing in this space, in this time, in this now. It's us. And the only way that we will be able to perpetuate this thing so that the next generation can do it is if we're active and we're occupying the places, the spaces, and responding to our occupiers. by standing up as what we are and who we are. And there are many methods available to us to do this. And there are very optimal ways that we can move forward as we do this because of the rights that have been preserved for us by our ali'i and by our previous monarchy. The sovereignty still exists. It cannot be denied. We have the ability to stand up on that history. We need the courage to be able to do that. And that's basically what it takes, boiled down. So at this point, we're going to call up Kamealoha to Kamealoha. Whew. We're gonna
Bless the
do
food.
the blessing of the food. And
So
then
we're gonna take a
reconvene.
break now. How about a round of applause for our panelists? So we'll take a break. Everybody can get some food, something to drink, and then what we're gonna do is in the next 5 or 10 minutes, as you get something, if we can quickly move into our groups, you can go into whatever group you want. We're gonna do one in each corner, one here in the front, one in the back there, and I believe one in the other corner. And we've got some focus groups where everybody can have their input. There's some questions that we're gonna engage people in, and each group should select somebody to come back, and we're gonna report back to the hui on our top 2 or 3 ideas in terms of consensus from the groups. Mahalo.